thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. I can't begin to tell you how important it is to have the media here and what a tremendous job all of you guys have done to distribute this information. It's incredibly important, and I just want to thank you because without you, we could not do that. So I want to start with that. I also, we are going to update you on certain things happening at the City of Reno. Some of that information you may or may not know. So we just want to reiterate some of that. I'm going to start out with my wonderful team who is here behind me. We have my Vice Mayor, Devin Reese, Councilmember Delgado, Councilmember Dewar, Reno Police Chief Jason Soto, Reno Fire Department Division Chief John McNamara. And then after, we will ask if you want to, fire off any questions. We think that's really important because we'll have many different topics that we're going to touch on here. One of the things is I want to let everyone know this is a regional effort. We have been working with our regional partners. We think that is incredibly important. Many of you know that our regional partners through Washoe County Health are playing sort of that critical role in getting you the information on the cases that are coming out constantly. And we are working in tandem with them. So I want you to know that that's where that information comes from. It doesn't come from the City of Reno. It's through Washoe County Health Department. So I just want to touch on that because sometimes people are coming to us and saying, Mayor, where is this information on cases coming out? So we want everyone to know that comes through Washoe County Health Department. Okay. I also want to say thank you so much to Governor Sisolak. He has done a tremendous job. You saw that he declared a state of emergency, and we are incredibly grateful. We have been in close contact with his office, and he knows at the local level exactly what cities and counties need. So I want to stress the importance of that. I also want to stress that the City of Reno, we will be doing our own emergency declaration. And that's just so that we have, every single tool available to us. So that will be happening actually right after this meeting. I believe Madam Clerk is here, and so we will make sure that that happens right after this meeting to sign our own emergency declaration. Let's see. I have also asked my council members, Councilwoman Dewar, I believe, to work with Tumwa and the residents to try to ensure continuous water service. We think that's really important, especially at a time where we're asking people to wash their hands. So thank you, Councilwoman Dewar. I really appreciate your leadership on this. She sits on that board, and we just believe it's critical. So thank you very much. And then just today, I heard that NV Energy is temporarily suspending disconnections for non-payment. That's important, very important too. I also, we keep hearing this, but I do want to stress this. This is not a time for panic or fear. It's time for caution. And it's time to come together as a city, as a region. And I have to tell you that I've seen a lot of incredible acts of kindness yesterday. We are a city that comes together. And so I want to thank our public for doing that. I also want to make sure everyone knows that this situation could change very quickly. So we want you to make sure that you're staying up to date with what we're doing here. And that's at reno.gov/COVID-19, reno.gov/COVID-19. We are going to update ours regularly, but please follow the county as well and follow the City of Reno. And then, let's see. So here are some of the updates. Some of you may know these and some of you may not. The suspension of all city-sponsored senior citizens activities are taking place. Citizens who have business here at the city or RPD or any other facilities, please do that online or over the phone. We think that's very important. Yesterday, we established a dedicated web page. Many of you guys know that. Now, as far as any new changes and restrictions, city parks are staying open for now, but that could change. So just keep following the website. We've had some questions about Vacation Station Spring Break Camp starting Monday. We are working with them to accommodate everyone who is already registered, okay? Let's see. So, and also any event put on by the city has been canceled. I want to stress that. That includes non-essential advisory boards and commissions. So again, our advisory boards and commissions have been canceled. I've had a lot of questions about will the city of Reno conduct our regular city council meetings? And I want you to know at this time, we are going to make sure that we hold those meetings, but at the same time, that could change quickly. And we want to stress for people to do public comment online and through the portal. Again, that's important. We want to be accessible to the public, but I also want to really stress right now, this is a time of caution, and we want to be transparent about that. This is another question I've received a lot of. It's the Community Assistance Center shelter, and they are taking extra measures to prevent the spread of the virus and will continue to provide overnight services. We think that's very important. We're working with the VOA to make sure that everything there stays very safe. And so we have people here that can answer more questions, but we are working again with VOA. The municipal court will continue to operate, but if you have cases or court business, they're welcoming people to contact them to make alternative arrangements, all right? Scheduled city council meetings, like we said, we will continue those, but at the same time, we will probably be limiting how we address the public with public comment, but we will continue to let you know as that changes. I just want to stress right now, we simply have to be very cautious. And I know that some people feel inconvenienced, but this is a really critical time. As you know, the cases have stayed the same. I do not anticipate that to happen, as we're seeing all across the country that more cases are coming online. So we're paying attention to that, but I want everyone to understand this will probably change. I was on the phone with Conference of Mayors, speaking with the mayor from Seattle, who has been at ground zero. Most cities will be. I want everyone to realize that every city is going to probably deal with this situation. We're very, very lucky to have incredible health providers. Everyone, I know even the media, you guys have been working around the clock to make sure that you're getting the information out there. We will do the same. I'm really impressed with our health providers. I don't know if any of you have been to Renown and visited their tent outside. They have really stepped up, just like the other centers are. They're all working together, and I'm just grateful for any of the collaboration that's happening. So with that being said, I know earlier this morning there was some questions asked about the calls for 911. So we also have our police chief here, Jason Soto, so he can address any of those questions.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mayor Sheevy. Yes, we have several updates that we'd like to provide our community from the Reno Police Department. In terms of public safety and our call response time, obviously our patrol is 24/7, and none of that is going to change. We are changing a few of the operational aspects of our department so as not to do anything to help spread any COVID throughout our community. I want to start off by saying that as I said yesterday, we've canceled or suspended our SAVE unit, which is our senior auxiliary volunteer effort, for the time being until this passes. We've also suspended and canceled all ride-alongs that we have at the Reno Police Department. And we're asking our community for a little bit of help. As you know, Reno Police Department handles about 80% of all police calls in this region, so we're extremely busy. What we're going to do is when you call in, if you have a non-emergency type of call, we're asking that you call our front desk at 334-2175 to file that report. And just to eliminate some of that contact that is unnecessary. So our front desk at the Reno Police Department is also going to be suspended. We won't be taking any walk-in reports. Again, all of the reports that will be taken will be done either online at renopd.com or over the telephone at 334-2175. Now, obviously, if you have an emergency or a priority type call, just call 911 and we will send officers as we always have, and we'll get there in the same amount of time as we have in the last past several weeks. But what this will really do is it'll free up our sworn officers to provide a quicker and better service to this region, simply because we're so busy. And there are more calls that have been coming in, a lot of people asking questions and information. And what I really want to reiterate what the mayor said a minute ago is it's not a time for panic. It's really just a time for caution. It's a time to start practicing social distancing. Start washing your hands regularly. If you read up on this and you do a little bit of research on this particular virus, there's a couple of populations that are very vulnerable. Our senior citizens, obviously, and our very young youth, because the immune systems just aren't what they are for a middle-aged person or a teenager or something like that. So don't be afraid to wash your hands 10 or so times a day. It's okay to do that. It's probably diligent to do that, especially if you have, a mom or dad or grandma or grandpa in the house or any infants. So just make sure you take extra precautions. Practice that social distancing when you're talking with people, when you're out shopping or doing whatever it is that you're doing. You don't have to be right in each other's faces. Just keep some distance. And if you have to cough or sneeze, do so in your arm. Not out in the open. And again, what we're asking our community is to only use 911 when it's absolutely necessary. If you file a report either on the telephone or through the online portal, we will prioritize those and they'll be handled just as they were before by our sworn personnel at some point. And I think that's all the updates I have for you now, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief McNamara with the Reno Fire Department.
Thanks, Chief Soto. Like you said, our departments, we interact with the public more than any other departments in the city. What that means for the Reno Fire Department, we're taking serious precautions and reminders for our crews to protect the public and themselves. Pretty much one of the first things we're doing is social distancing, like Chief Soto talked about. Our number one message we want to get out to the public is you call us, we'll still show up. We are running 100% staffing. We have taken precautions. We have altered some of our EMS procedures to mimic what is started up in Seattle. So for immediate future, like I said, we are running 100%. We'll be there. I'd like to thank our regional partners, Truckee Meadows Fire and Sparks Fire and REMSA. What we're implementing now has already been in place. We've been practicing this for years. This is for real. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're plugging in the parts where needed. And it's almost a seamless transition right now into the real world activities. I just want to once again reiterate that Reno Fire Department's here 24/7. And call 911 if you have an emergency, and we'll be there. Madam Mayor?
All right. Thank you. Also, I wanted to touch on a little bit. Many of you have seen the long lines, certainly at Costco. People were sending me pictures this morning of these long lines all throughout different grocery stores and providers throughout the city. And so because we are limiting so many activities, especially for our senior population, it's really important that they have these supplies as well, because we want to make sure that we keep them in mind when we're going through something like this. So I wanted to ask our vice mayor, who came up with an initiative to make sure that we address this, and all the council members really wanted to step in and make sure this happens. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I want to say, first of all, thank you to our staff here at the City of Reno and to Madam Mayor herself, because what y'all don't see behind the lens is that we're working overtime and really doing it because we love this community. And I know that the mayor is spending a lot of time in communication with the governor, with our federal partners, with our regional partners. So that's the most important thing right now is communication. I will share with you that the City of Reno is going to be, as quickly as is practicable, doing kind of a Stuff-A-Bus program where we're going to come together as a community and try to collect paper products and canned goods, the kinds of things that it might be more difficult for folks who are on a fixed income or seniors to access. Everything that has been said today, I won't reiterate. I want to make sure that the key takeaway is that our city is engaged, we're active. We will be, under the terms of the emergency declaration, able to access greater set of tools than prior. And so I thank again the mayor for her leadership in those efforts, and we'll turn it back over to her.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, I want to thank our city staff. You guys have been amazing, and we have just been, it's been nonstop, us, reaching out to you guys, and I just want to say I'm so grateful. And a lot of people forget that they really are making our city run, because a lot of people don't realize that they are on 24/7, and so I really have to thank them, just like I have to thank you guys. We could not do this without everyone's help. And so we are reaching out to everyone, from our nonprofit partners to our regional partners to our media partners. I need you to know that this is really going to be a huge consolidated effort. I want to say thank you so much to, Vice Mayor Reese, Councilwoman Naomi Dewar, and Councilmember Oscar Delgado for being here. You guys have been incredibly supportive. We have other council members out there. They're working hard in their wards. But that's what they're doing. They're keeping me sort of in close communication what's happening in their wards. So they are all throughout the city, really staying in touch. And so we're taking a lot of different questions. So I want you to know that they're working incredibly hard. Again, I want to say thank you so much to our Reno Police Department. I know how hard they have been working, and our Reno Fire Department, and Chief Soto and Chief McNamara. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, please shoot them off. Oh, sure. Sure. Sure, there you go.
Mayor Sheedy, the emergency declaration by the city of Reno opens up what? Tell me what you could, if you were to need it,
Right.
what it would open up.
Right, so we think that we know that it's important because it does something different from the state piece of it, whether it's funding or certain tools that come down. As they come down, they have not come down yet, as we've seen on the federal level. We're still kind of waiting to see what they're going to be able to provide. We want that ready because from what we understand, sometimes these things can take a while, so we want that in now. We want to make sure that we're, staying on top of this as closely as possible. It is different than the state side, so I want people to know that too. Your city and state are a little bit different how they handle that, so we think it's important to be proactive.
Could it be money?
Absolutely,
Could it be supplies?
absolutely,
Could it be personnel?
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Chief Soto,
Yeah.
you had previously requested the addresses of the returning Branch Princess passengers. Have you gotten that?
We're still working with the health department on that. We're hopefully going to have an answer to that by the end of today. But we have been working very diligently with the health department in terms of having that information. One other thing I forgot to bring up as well during when I was up here before is if you have to have your fingerprints taken, or if you have a public records request, or you need something from our records division, we're still taking those reports in the station. You just need to hit our little buzzer up front, and we'll bring in and process that information.
Chief Soto, for those addresses for the people coming in from the cruise, is that for your officer's safety reasons? And aren't you waiting for an opinion from the state attorney general to see if that's legal?
Yes, we are waiting for an opinion, and it's really just an informational piece in terms of trying to stop the unnecessary interactions, or at least knowing what we're going into. So we have personal protective equipment that we use, and we're also just asking our community to give us that information anyways. And they've actually been really good. We've gotten several phone calls coming in at 911 just saying, hey, I don't feel well, I feel ill. And a lot of times we can handle that information right over the telephone. If we have to go to the response, like if you're in danger or your property's in danger or something like that, we will of course respond. But we appreciate all of the efforts that our community has brought forward in giving us that information while they're on the phone with 911. But we're working on it.
So it may be in part safety for your officers. Does that, did we not learn from the AIDS epidemic that gives you a false sense of security? There's going to be people your officers run into that are carrying the virus and are asymptomatic and have no idea.
You're absolutely correct. And we understand that. And there's a lot of people, and I said this yesterday with some media, and that is that they're carrying this virus and they don't even know they're carrying it. And I think all of our community needs to understand that. It's going to have an effect on some people. It's not going to have an effect on other people. Again, that's why we keep coming forward with good hygiene, washing your hands, not touching your face. I know that's hard to do because we've been doing it for so long. Practicing the social distancing. If you got young kids or old people in your house, just do it a little bit more because you're absolutely correct. This is one of those things, it's the flu. And I explained it to my department earlier this week. It's like when there's a flu going around at your child's school and you don't want your kid to get sick. So you do everything you can so that he or she doesn't get sick. But sometimes they come back anyhow and they get sick. It's the flu. There's not a lot you can do about that again. So that's why we're really trying to reach out to our community and say, look, we need all of your help. We need all of you we need to be in this together. Everybody wash their hands. Everybody do all these things that we've been talking about. And then if you do have some of those symptoms, just let them know while you're making your phone call to 911, if possible and if safe to do so, so that we can practice and we can keep our entire community healthy because we've been doing a fantastic job.
Do you have the addresses of the 2 existing cases?
No.
We asked Washoe County this morning also about economic impacts, if businesses, and I guess this is for the mayor or anyone else out there.
Yeah,
Have you gotten any communications from the business community or the casinos?
it's a great question.
Are they concerned? Have you seen a drop off in
Absolutely.
tourism? Or
Yeah, and I also think, we're telling everyone to wash our hands and, minimizing our contact with one another, but there's another piece that we don't talk about a lot, and I'm glad that you brought that up, and that's also the emotional side of, what's happening right now. There are a lot of people that are very fearful. I talk to a lot of businesses, and they're very, very concerned. How are they going to pay their rent? Many businesses get a lot of goods from China. They have started to see the slowdown for a while and, became very, very concerned, and rightfully so. And with limiting this contact, that means that people are not walking through their doors and they have employees, right? Small businesses are the largest job creators in the country. And so absolutely. So that's why we're hoping to see something on the federal government side, but also things that we can do locally. And that really is encouraging. Some people might not be able to shop right now, but if you could buy a gift card to a local business, that would be fantastic. They would be incredibly grateful. We have got to look at how we're going to keep their doors open. I'm incredibly concerned. They're incredibly concerned. Again, like I said, this is going to take an entire community. And if there's one community that can do this, this is the city of Reno. We're very, very strong. We were the hardest hit in the recession. I'm not saying this is anything like that, but what I am saying is that we have a lot of compassion and kindness in the city, but we're going to have to figure it out together. But I want to make sure that we're working with EDON, GoEd, things like that. I think that is going to be critical because look at how many people could be out of a job. I mean, yesterday I had a gentleman call me that works for one of the food providers for one of the sports facilities, and how this is how he puts food on the table. So can you imagine? I mean, from some of the people in this community that already are not going to work because of this situation. So we want to be really, really sensitive to that. And quite frankly, I can understand, that concern. We don't want to panic. That's not what we're trying to do here. But if we don't talk about it, then we can't address it. And that's what we have to do. We have to just address it and make sure that those businesses are hearing our voices and making sure they understand. So we're trying to, really do all that we can. But again, a lot of our small businesses are employers. And so we want to continue to keep looking at that. We don't know what that looks like yet, but we're certainly mindful.
For Chief Soto, you mentioned that you're getting a lot of, or you're asking the community for help when it comes to non-emergency calls. Are you getting a lot of non-emergency calls that have to do with coronavirus, or why that, please, to the public?
Yeah, so the call volume has certainly gone up. There's a lot of our community that has questions. We're certainly getting a lot more questions in the field as well. So our police officers that just respond to their daily duties have individuals from our community coming up to us asking us questions as to kind of where we're at and what we're doing as a city. The men and women of the Reno Police Department are doing a fantastic job sending out that message and really telling our community what I said a little bit earlier, and is it's not a time to panic. It's just it's a time to use caution and precautions And again, I'll say it for the third time today, work together as a community. That is what makes Reno so special, and that's what makes Reno so unique and fantastic of a city to live in, is that we're all in this together. So yes, more calls, more questions certainly being answered. And when we have answers for them, we certainly give our community those answers.
What's the nature of some of those calls? I'm just curious why people are calling.
Well, a lot of times people call, a lot of it is informational. You know, if I'm feeling sick or if I have the flu, you have to understand whenever somebody has an issue or a problem, usually the first person that they call is 911, and it gets routed to medical, police, or fire. So they're asking questions about whether, if they have a fever, they're asking questions about what if I don't have hand sanitizer? How do I stay clean? How do I stay uninfected? We're getting, you name it, those types of questions are coming in. And there's not a wrong question to ask. And we're certainly, again, our dispatch has been working with us on all of these updates as well. So they have a lot of information that they're sharing with our community without even having to have any contact with them.
I have a question for the mayor. I know, in a couple larger cities and so on, they put out hand washing stations or, hand sanitizer. Is there any plans to kind of, give more opportunities for people to keep themselves safer with, extra things being put out like that?
Yes, and again, this is going to be a private and public partnership, right? Because we're having a lot of businesses say, how can we get that? And we are looking at ways that we can help provide businesses and throughout the city more hand sanitizing. But what I want to stress too, that's great for just a temporary fix. What, honestly, the best thing you can do is continue to wash your hands. Because sometimes, different hand sanitizers have different formulas. But our office is getting them too. They want to know, should they be wearing gloves? Should they be wearing a mask? There's a lot of misinformation out there, whether, some people will tell you shouldn't be wearing a mask. Some people say you should be wearing a mask. Some people will say gloves aren't necessary. So there's a lot of unknown information to people out there, and then my office gets inundated like 911 gets inundated. And so again, I think it's important for everyone to have information that's accurate, and call your doctor. But we also want to be very mindful that this situation can change on a dime. I want to kind of stress that it really can. After speaking with several mayors this morning, Mayor de Blasio in New York, everyone's been following that. He really stressed that this changed very rapidly. The mayor in Seattle really said, hey, this overnight changed rapidly. And, mayors, get ready and be prepared. And that's what we're really doing. So, we're not here trying to ensue any fear, but we want to make sure that what we're doing, how committed the city is, how committed the county is, the city of Sparks. And we think that that's important. So we appreciate you. Any more questions or?
Yeah, is the city making any recommendations for reducing gatherings of a certain size or canceling events with an occupancy at or above a certain threshold, as some other cities and states are doing?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think Mayor Garcetti this morning said it was something like they had, they went from 250, people in a room to down to 50. What we have kind of been looking at is we are letting sort of the businesses and establishments kind of say, hey, this is something that we should look at, because we don't know how many people are going into those establishments. But we do think limiting that is really important right now. I think honestly, we have this window. This window is the time that we have to do this, right? As much as it's really hard and it feels like it disrupts our lives, we've got to do it now, because quite honestly, this is the part where it sort of does continue to where we will see more cases. Talking to all these mayors that have been through it, and also, I know people always will say, well, China and Italy are different than the United States. We have data, and you guys have all been reporting this data. We have to look at that and take that data seriously, right? And so let's make those precautions now. I really believe that. It's better to be over-prepared.
So does that mean then that restrictions may be put
Yes.
talking about?
It could happen on a dime. It depends, like, we're seeing, certain clusters in other cities. Right now, we're letting the business establishments kind of gauge that, what they think. We are starting to scale back. As you said, we're starting to, close down certain events. You guys saw that with the leprechaun crawl and the pub crawl, those kinds of gatherings right now. Right now is the time to really do this, because we might miss this window of opportunity.
What outreach are you guys doing to the homeless community, given that
Good
they're
question.
less likely to be watching these press conferences and getting
Yes.
this information, and also
Yeah.
a more vulnerable population too?
That's great. And a lot of people have been concerned about that. We've been working with VOA. I think, Monty, you want to talk a little bit about that? Working with.
I can talk about what we're
Yeah.
doing at the CAC.
Well, and one of the things is, making sure that the cleaning process is really strict over there. And, I think we even look at, doing a closed campus, but we have to make sure, what does that look like? Because we want people to have services. That's really important for our homeless population, especially right now.
What about the populations that are along the river, not in the shelter, even harder to?
Yeah.
So I can
Yeah.
speak to that a little bit. So our advocate community has done a fantastic job in having outreach to our homeless, as well as our CAO team, community action and outreach team, in terms of getting them supplies and things that they need to stay sanitary. Vice Mayor Reese earlier was talking about stuff a bus or stuff a barrel and things like that. I would go a little bit further and say we should do the same thing for our less fortunate homeless population, in terms of getting them some sanitary products, so that they can, take the same measures that all of us have the luxury or pleasure of doing on a regular and daily basis.
Mayor,
One
can
more,
you-
folks?
Can you tell me this emergency declaration, and maybe you can or can't answer this question, does it have an impact on the Emergency Operations Center? If you declare an emergency, does that crank the preparedness or
No.
openness of that facility at all?
I don't believe it does. We
No.
can get back to you on that, but I believe it, I don't believe it does.
But-
With your federal monies
Yes.
or personnel?
And I'll give you an example of this emergency and what it will help on. We've had a very difficult time getting supplies, because everybody in the entire world is trying to go after these same
Yeah.
masks, all of these
Yeah.
sanitary products. And what that does is it allows us some new avenues in order to prioritize some of that's going to be coming in. So we can get it to our first responders, to our medical, to all the people that really need it, so that we can put it in the right place.
Right.
Mayor Shuby,
Yeah.
it appears that there have already started to be some layoffs related to this in Las Vegas. A couple questions: do you expect to see that here, and is the city prepared to offer any kind of assistance for
Yeah.
folks who might lose their jobs as a result of the coronavirus?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's what we're kind of waiting on right now, to see, what's happening with the federal government. They've all got to start working together, because we're all working at the local level together, and we're concerned about that, quite honestly. You're seeing a shortage of these kits. We knew, this was sort of happening, so, it's really critical. So I think you make a great point. I hope we don't see any layoffs, but I wouldn't be surprised. Let's just say that. I think that that's something that could be a reality. Look at just for 2 weeks, if a business is shut down. 2 weeks, even a week. Some businesses operate on very, very slim margins, very slim, and might not be able to survive. I think that's a very big reality. I know people don't want to talk about it, but it really is. I know, many business owners, and they are incredibly nervous. And again, look at the trickle down effect of the people that they employ, right? So I think so. But, let's all cross our fingers, but people, I understand where their concern is.
All right, guys, we're gonna do the declaration.
Okay, wait, except for one more thing. I actually would love for Councilman Delgado, I would love for him to come and speak about the community health centers and what you guys are experiencing, because, we have been kind of working with so many different nonprofits in the healthcare industry. So I'd like to kind of hear from you and what you've been experiencing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for everybody. I think it's
upon all of us to make sure that there's calm and that there's respect and that there's thoughtfulness in terms of how we are handling this. I think the mayor has spoken to that and everyone else here. An opportunity, of course, is to make sure you're vigilant about calling. If you feel as though you're feeling a symptom or your family member feels a symptom, that you call ahead of time, not put other people at risk. Our Community Health Alliance and other FQHCs and community centers across not only Washington County, but we're here and across the nation, is that if you feel symptomatic, if you feel like you have a fever, if you have a cough and other things, please call into work, call in, make an appointment, call the Washington County Health District as soon as you can. And if you're from the Spanish-speaking community, call as well. There are people there that are able to answer those questions for you just as much. We also understand that there's an undocumented community here in Washington County across the nation that over the last few months, last few years, don't feel as comfortable with government. And so we recognize that, and we want to make sure that they understand that there are safe places for them to go and make sure that they get the treatment that they need. Because ultimately, if they don't get treated, then that also puts the rest of the public at risk, and that's a public health issue as well. So please come to Community Health Alliance, Nevada Health Centers, to all the other FQHCs, Northern Nevada Hopes, but please call ahead, be vigilant, make sure you feel safe, take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and please be thoughtful, wash your hands, and everything else that you've heard of today.
Yeah, I want to, can I turn around and be a reporter on you? I want to know, have you seen an increase of calls to CHA?
We've seen a tremendous amount of calls because other facilities are being overridden by phone calls in terms of just issues, and they're really scared. And I think that's due to the enormous amount of misinformation out there. So appreciate all the media here getting the right information to all of our constituents across Washington County, the importance of that. So if you're on Facebook, make sure you're watching which are the proper channels, which are the right media channels, who's providing the right information. That's key to making sure that plays into people's safety, it plays into people's thought process, but we are getting tons of information, a lot of calls at our community centers from people walking in. Again, please make a phone call ahead of time. It's, again, for your own safety, for your family safety, and for those that are in those waiting rooms.
Yeah, thank you, really appreciate it. Okay. Any more questions? That's it? No? Okay, we will sign that declaration then. Thanks, you guys, really appreciate you being here today. It really, it means a lot to the community because, again, you guys are helping us get the information out there. So thank you. Any others? Thank you. I want to say thank you to our city attorney's office. We're really grateful, Jonathan Shipman. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. There you go. Thanks. Well, thank you. Okay. All right. Okay. Anything? You gotta.
I have to stamp and execute.